Hello everyone, this is ilmango and welcome back to another video. And today we're on part 2 of the Redstone Basics series. So I hope you enjoy, and in this video I'm going to be covering a lot that I didn't get to cover in my previous Redstone Basics video. So I really hope you enjoy, and yeah, enjoy this video. Let's continue, shall we? So you see, one very confusing aspect of Minecraft is, of course, block update detection mechanics, and this of course runs on quasi-connectivity, which is a type of game mechanic, and the way this works, it's fairly simple, but it's very confusing. And you'd think that when this redstone block is over here, it won't power this piston, and it's not currently powering the piston. As you can see, the piston is not extended. However, if you break this block, giving that piston a block update, it will extend. And then you can do something that will be very alarming to those of you who do understand redstone in the Bedrock edition of Minecraft. You can actually break this and it will stay extended. This is extremely confusing. There are no barrier blocks around this. This is completely in vanilla Minecraft. There are no commands used to do this. This is just quasi-connectivity. It's very confusing. And in order for you to make this piston retract, you will have to give it another block update by placing a block over here. Now, using this, you can make things that are very interesting, like bud switches or block update detection circuits. And the way these work is basically using quasi-connectivity to basically bud power this piston. So every time it receives a block update, it will send an output to here. As you can see there, it will send, I believe that's a 1-tick output. The interesting thing about this is that despite sending a 1-tick output, this doesn't actually let go of the redstone block, which is quite interesting. Now, there are many different types of bud switches, and that is one type of bud switch, but now I'm going to show you a bud switch using slime blocks. Now, this is probably the most compact bud switch you will find in Minecraft, and it's really quite simple. And basically, the way this works is this redstone block is bud powering that sticky piston, so it will fire, moving that block away. But when that block's moved away, it's then not bud powering, but of course just the simple extension of the piston updates the piston again, so it then retracts. So yeah, it's a bit complicated, but a bit simple as well. But the good thing about the bud is that you can use it to do some pretty cool things. Like, you wouldn't think that these two pistons would extend when you flick this lever, but they actually do. So you can make some like pretty enormously compact doors. Like, say I go over here, this is literally that's a simple redstone door. There's barely any redstone behind that. You just like press a button and then the door opens. It's literally just along the top. So quasi-connectivity is extremely useful. It's also used to make a lot of other things, and it's just really useful. You can make enormous piston boards like this as well. Like, say you have stacks and stacks of pistons over here. If you just like place blocks over here and over here, across like that and across like that, then when you activate that, all of those pistons will extend there. And when you activate that, all of those pistons will extend entirely. So as you can see, quasi-connectivity is extremely useful. However, it can be a little bit annoying. Say you have a circuit over here and then a block over here that you sort of don't want to power, and then say you have a block over here that you don't really want to use to power the piston, but you're accidentally powering the piston with. A very simple solution to that, say over here we can of course update the piston like that, and then that might be a bit annoying. So something we could have to prevent that is we could of course just run a redstone line up like that, but instead of using that we use a transparent block, say glass for example. We take the glass and we run it up like that, so that when you do press the button, there is no way that this block will be updated. This block cannot be updated by anything because, as you can see, redstone signals cannot travel through transparent blocks. Okay, so let's get started on a few basic redstone circuits. Now, these aren't really the logic gates, these are more general circuits, so over here, let's build them now. So over here, my first circuit is going to be, of course, the monostable circuit. And the way this works is really quite simple. This basically shortens a pulse, which is really quite useful. Say you want to make a piston release its block, this will give it a 1 tick pulse, and that's quite useful. And the way this works is basically, so when you hit this button, this redstone dust is soft powering that block, and it gives, and for 1 tick, and of course pistons take 1 tick to extend and 0 ticks to retract, so that repeater over there will receive a pulse. But of course the pulse will be shortened because the block is then removed after 1 tick. That's why it only receives a 1 tick pulse. However, if you do change this to 4 ticks, it will be in fact a 4 tick pulse, because only a 4 tick pulse can pass through a 4 tick repeater. Another way to make a monostable circuit is of course the dropper hopper monostable circuit. Now this is quite a simple design. You will need comparators for it, and the way this works is, where's my comparator gone? There it is basically when you press this button over here, it will send a 4 tick pulse through that comparator, which that you can then lead into a repeater if you do want to restore it to full signal strength. And yes, this is just genuinely quite useful. Another good use for monostable circuits is converting constant signals like this lever into a pulse. So you can have, say, like a constant signal leading out of this lever in one way, but then just like a pulse leading out of it in another way. So yeah, that's really quite useful, and I definitely recommend using it in your redstone contraptions. They're extremely useful. I use them all the time. Another circuit we have is of course the toggle flip-flop. Now there are many different designs for the toggle flip-flop, and basically what the toggle flip-flop does is it basically converts a pulse into a constant signal. So it does the opposite of the monostable circuit, which converts a constant signal into a pulse. It converts a pulse into a constant signal. Now you can see this over here when we take our redstone block. I'm just going to cover that up there and get our redstone block. Now you see with our redstone block over here, and when we press this button is only going to give a pulse. However, because this piston has released its block, it is constantly powering this redstone dust line. And if you want to take the block back, you can just flick the lever again, and then it picks up the block like so. This can be extremely useful if you want to use a button instead of a lever to activate things, because let's be honest, buttons look a lot prettier than levers. So yeah, I definitely recommend using this. Another design for toggle flip-flop is the dropper hopper toggle flip-flop. This particular design was designed by, of course, CNB Minecraft, who was the king of toggle flip-flops. I'll show you over here that when you throw this diamond in, the button was up here. When you flick the button, gives a constant output. When you flick the button again, it turns off. So yeah, this is a very simple design created by CNB Minecraft. There are of course other designs. There is another sort of dropper hopper design for the T flip-flop. Over here we have another slightly more complicated dropper hopper design. I'm just going to put redstone dust in here, and as you can see, it is quite a bit slower. I definitely recommend using this other one. It's generally better. So yeah, but they both work the same. They both give a constant output. So yeah, I definitely recommend using this in a lot of your redstone contraptions. They're extremely useful for just about everything. Also, going back to the monostable circuits a bit here, I'm going to teach you the differences between the different types of monostable circuits. Of course, over here we have a rising edge monostable circuit, which gives a pulse, which gives an output at the beginning of a pulse. But of course, we can have things like the so this is a rising edge monostable circuit because it gives an output at the beginning of a pulse. But then we can have things like a falling edge monostable circuit, which give an output, as you can see, at the end of a pulse. Now, of course, you can't use this to convert constant signals into pulses, because then if you try using this, you see it just won't give a pulse. But it will work as a regular monostable circuit. Like you can also use this to make a T flip-flop over here. You can also use this to build a T flip-flop, as it still gives a 1 tick pulse. It's really quite useful. I did use locking repeaters for this, so yeah, falling edge monostable circuit, rising edge monostable circuit. Quite useful terms to know. Another good thing to know is that that's not the only design for these devices. Of course, I showed you another design for the rising edge monostable circuit, but for the falling edge monostable circuit, you can also do something that looks a little bit like this. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do in just now. You can also have things that look a bit like this. These are also falling edge monostable circuits, and as you can see, they give a pulse. They give an output at the end of a pulse. I do recommend using this design of falling edge monostable circuit because not only is it silent, but it works exactly the same way. So I definitely recommend using one of these in one of your builds. They're very, very, very useful. So yeah. Another thing worth noting is that observers work very, very similarly to 1 tick monostable circuits. So over here you can actually have a monostable circuit like this. Here is another design of monostable circuit. It's extremely compact. It's basically moving an observer. The observer detects the movement, therefore sending a pulse through this redstone line. So yeah, these are very, very useful. You can also make extremely, extremely compact toggle flip-flops that are only 1 wide. So yeah, this can be extremely, extremely useful. It's worth knowing that observers are awesome. They're just awesome. Yeah, observers are one of the coolest blocks in the game. Another very, very important tip is, well, not to start by building an enormous redstone contraption, or don't start with something too ambitious before you really understand redstone. Like this over here is my subscriber counter. I will showcase it properly when I get 100 subscribers, and as you can see, it's looking quite nice with that 55 subscribers over here. If I do want to add more subscribers, I just hit this button. I'm going to show you here. Hopefully we'll get 56, so it's not lying. When we press this button, it will go to 56. Now, of course, this is quite complicated. I used a lot of old redstone techniques to build this, and of course, it's enormous. The redstone behind this is huge, and I definitely recommend that you try something like this, but not before you've learnt the basics. Like, learn the basics of redstone before you try something massive like this. I mean, I understand that, like, when you see redstone, you're like, oh, cool, I want to build this, but then you might get extremely disappointed when it doesn't work. And that's just the thing. You want to learn the basics before you build some crazy things, like the things that I've got over here in my subscriber counter world. Now, this will include watching some other YouTubers' videos as well as mine. I suggest Mumbo Jumbo's YouTube channel. Definitely check it out. I'll put a link to it down in the description. Also, ilmango, link will be down in the description. A very old YouTuber known as CNB Minecraft, and another very old one known as FVDisco. Both of them haven't uploaded in quite a while, but the videos that they have uploaded are very, very informative, and I definitely suggest watching them. So, yes, I definitely suggest researching redstone a lot more before you want to build something like this. Like, I actually tried over there. If you can see over there, there's a big explosion crater. That is when I tried to build this before I sort of understood how all of this worked. And I got pretty annoyed, so I blew it up. And of course, this is kind of the obvious thing to do if your redstone contraption's not really working out. And of course, well, I blew it up, but and I sort of was just so annoyed with it that I didn't really care. And that's a bit of a mistake, because you see, the reason I got annoyed with it was because I just didn't understand how to do it properly. But then when I researched it a bit more, I learned how to do it properly, and then here's this, and a working subscriber counter. And so yeah, that's a very, very big recommendation. I definitely suggest that you follow that. So that, ladies and gentlemen, just about rounds us up today. If this did help you out, please hit that like button and make sure to subscribe, because that would really, really, really make my day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!